Good evening. Welcome to the Jon Gaunt Show with me, Jon Gaunt, as it would be, right through for the next half an hour or so. So, shall we give Nigel Farage the keys to number 10 now and stop messing about? Starmer's going to do sweet FA for the next 4 years, apart from protect his own job. A new poll out today says if there was an election now, Farage would win by a massive majority. I say give Farage the keys now. He can't be worse than what we've been having for the last 14 or 15 years. And number two, I believe he's the only man who'll get on top of the small boat crisis. That's what I'm going to prove in this broadcast, but I want your views as well. So let me hear them now. So, good evening. I am Jon Gaunt, and tonight I'm asking the question that the political establishment doesn't even want you to think about. Should we hand Nigel Farage and Reform UK the keys to number 10 right now, before Britain erupts? It's a slightly, well, of course, it's a hypothetical question because they're never going to do it. But this is what I want to discuss tonight. Is he the only man and his party really the only party who is going to get on top of this eruption that is about to happen in the United Kingdom? Because make no mistake, our great country, Britain, is on the edge. The latest mega poll shows that Reform UK is on course for the biggest Commons majority in modern history. Let me just say that to you again. The biggest majority ever in modern history. This, of course, you've got to counterbalance with Keir Starmer. His popularity has sunk to the lowest ever levels, recording for a sitting prime minister. And he's showing no signs of turning it around. And let's be face it also, there's nobody in Labour who could take over from him. The Conservatives are in disarray. The Liberal Democrats, well, they're just absolutely pathetic. All this is happening whilst the UK is fracturing. You've got immigration, legal and illegal, totally out of control. The small boat crisis is continuing to disgrace our borders. Well, don't just take my word for it. Shabana Mahmood, who's the Home Secretary, the Muslim Home Secretary, she's had a meeting today with the Balkan states, basically to discuss how we could work together to cut down illegal immigration via Dover. Now, don't forget, they've tried with France and it's failed. We've had 27 out and thousands in. It's not going to work in that way. What we have to do is be unilateral, act on our own. Oh, yeah, you can't do that, Gaunt. Surely you've got to do it with other countries. Oh, yeah. Ask Donald Trump about that in America. Immigration illegal on the southern border down by 97%. Hardly anyone's coming in. Yeah, but that's America. Okay, let's talk about Poland. Let's talk about Denmark. Let's talk about Australia. Or let's talk about Greece. All of these countries just snapped and said, no more. We're not having it. You come to our country without the right papers and enter illegally, you're a criminal. You're either going to prison, a secure camp, or you're being deported. That's what we've got to do. And only one man will do that. One man who's realistically got a chance of being in power, as this poll today shows. And that man is Nigel Farage. Do you agree with me or disagree with me? Put your comments at the bottom of the screen, because Reform UK is on course to win 445 seats. Labour would be down to 73, and the Tories, this is the worst bit for them, would have just 7. And so what they're saying is they would all use tactical voting to try and keep Farage out. But it's an incredible statistic, isn't it? Also, These are the people who would lose their seats. Don't cheer too much. The Chancellor, Rachel Thieves. The Foreign Secretary, who's about as much use as a chocolate fireguard, Yvette Cooper. The Education Secretary, who I call Cruella de Vil, Bridget Phillipson. And here's the big cheer, everyone. The Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, would all lose their places over to Nigel Farage's party. Shabana Mahmood, the woman, the Home Secretary, who today has been trying to negotiate some sorts of deal with the Balkan countries, Albania and the rest of them. She wouldn't lose her seat to Reform, nor would Wes Street in the Health Secretary. No, their seats would go to the Your Party on present polling. What's the Your Party? Oh, that's Zara Sultana, the MP for Coventry and the Gaza Strip, and Jeremy Corbyn. That's who. The Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, she'd have her seat taken off her by Reform. So would Robert Jenrick, Suella Braverman, although I don't think she's in Parliament at the moment, is she? Rishi Sunak, and Ian Duncan Smith. All of those seats would go to Reform. What do you make of that? And of course, it's a poll, but would you bet against Nigel Farage being the next PM? Because I wouldn't. And I'll go further. I say the sooner the better. Because the problem we've got at the moment is after he was humiliated, as I talked about yesterday in my other podcast, Starmer is finished. So Starmer is just going to try and keep his pension up. He's going to try and make his name for history. He doesn't want to be a short-lived PM, but he's going to do sweet FA. And you've got Shabana Mahmood basically saying, we failed on illegal migration. We need a completely different approach. And I say that's Farage. And I'm saying the polls show that at the moment. That's just the boats. What about the rising tide of anti-Semitism? What about the division that's tearing communities apart? What about Sharia law? What about the fact that some people hate our flag? Hello, Gary. Wasn't it brilliant last night when the football fans, the England fans, as we slaughtered Latvia, were singing to Gary Lineker, little mini me, the new Gary Lineker, about his views on our flag. The Conservatives and Labour are utterly out of step with the people they're meant to serve, but there's no general election for 4 years. So do we all just sit back and watch Britain burn? Or is it time for something radical? So I want you to answer this question with me live. Should Farage and Reform UK be trusted with power now? Yes, it's a bit hypothetical, but just type yes or no in the chat box. Let's see if the political elite are finally about to get the shock of their lives. I'd love your views on this. And after the trial of that madman who wanted to call Farage, somebody just said, it wasn't Gary Lineker, it was Gary Neville. Ronnie, you thick idiot. I know. I called him Gary Lineker's Mini Moo, and I didn't name him because I've got no respect for him. Anyway, thanks for your comments, Ronnie. I'm only pulling your leg. Don't get too wound up, Ronnie. Don't get too wound up. I'm coming to your comments in just a moment. He's just put me off a little bit there now. James Goggle says, yes, let's put Farage in charge now. That's the point I'm trying to make. In a hypothetical situation, look, there he is. Would you like that to happen now? Especially after Starmer embarrassing himself and indeed our great country in Egypt the other day, 2 days ago, wasn't it? And have you seen what's happening there now? Hamas have still got guns. So their new entertainment is, let's shoot our enemies in the back of their heads in the market town square. These people are savages. And I think Trump now should bring down the full weight of the American military on them. Hamas have got no place at the negotiation tables. Do you agree with me? And I see that student at Oxford has been arrested. Good. Let's see what happens now when he gets before 12 good men and true. But he's been kicked out of Oxford University. I think that is brilliant. Ronnie Hurst has come back and he says, Farage is our only hope. You are correct. I think that anyway. Out of the bad bunch. But if you've got a different opinion, I want to hear it. And what about Shabana Mahmood, our Home Secretary, saying, we've lost control of our borders? Really, love? I didn't know that. So after, as I said, with Farage being attacked or about to have been attacked, that guy getting 5 years in prison, and now Sweden have turned around and said, oh, no, that's not his name. We've arrested him 9 or 10 times in Sweden for crimes. We just do not know who's coming in the country. Are you with me or against me? James Goggle, you're new on YouTube, mate. The idea is you make a comment. You don't make 15 comments. I don't want to be rude to you, but I'll read this one out for you. Get rid of Starmer now. Thank you. Then he says, get Mahmood out now. That's fine. So now you understand how to do it. You can write more than 3 words on a post. Let's go to Dan Spinks. Good evening, John. I'm agreeing with you. Thank you very much indeed. Mick, Frinton-on-Sea. Evening, John. These politicians can't understand. You've got to pull out of the ECHR. You've got to tow the boats back. Germany and Denmark have done this. Send the Afghans back. That's right. That is what you've got to do. We can't wait to make agreements with, I don't know, Albania or any of these countries. No. The first responsibility of any government is the protection of its own citizens. Let's go unilateral on this. Let's do what Denmark have done. Let's secure our borders. How many times have I said this? Army on the beach, Navy in the Channel, secure detention centres, no hotels, old RAF bases. Don't like it? Oh, we'll pay for you to go home. Where do you come from? Okay, we'll send you back. Oh, you don't know where you come from because you haven't got any documents? Oh, I'll tell you where you're going then. Ascension Island, because that's where they're going to process you. Once that message gets out that this is not El Dorado, people will stop coming. We can then deal with the backlog and then we can move forward. This is all taking up too much time and too much money. Are you with me or against me? Right. Ronnie Hurst says, why do the other parties why don't they want democracy? I don't quite know what you mean by that. James, I have told you, you've made a few comments. Please now calm down, share, and let other people join in as well. Jackie Ward, it's a pity Starmer can't lose his seat. ... Today. I agree with you. I voted Reform UK last time, and I will do so again. If they get in, at least then we'll actually get some action on illegal migration. Hopefully they will take action on halal slaughter as well. Well, you know my point of view on that. There should be no halal food allowed or slaughter in this country. Well, it can be allowed, it can be sold as long as it's clearly labelled, but it shouldn't be getting slaughtered here. It's barbaric. I say the same thing about kosher food. I don't agree with kosher slaughter either. It should be one law for all. Are you with me or against me? Gary Grover says, yep, that must mean he's with me. Thank you for that. Mick Frinton-on-Sea, I see that Oxford University students shouting, put the Zio in the ground, has been arrested and suspended. Yes, he has. I hope he gets a criminal record and can then only get a job in Audi. I tell you what, Audi wouldn't have him. He wouldn't work hard enough. Have you seen how hard the kids work in there? Incredible. So careful what you're saying, Mick. Mick Frinton-on-Sea. If you like my show, please press... I haven't got my teeth in today. Please press the like button. The more likes we get, it helps the algorithm. If you'd like to donate to the show, there's 2 ways you can do it to help subsidize it. you go to that little $sign on your screen. If you're watching on YouTube, press that and you can donate whatever you fancy. Just try and help me out if you can. Otherwise, go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt. And just on the numbers to let you know, we're at 1.6, nearly at 1.7 million. Thank you very much indeed for making this so successful. And of course, tell all your friends. Share the stream. Very important. Mick Smith says, John, it's all very well asking people in a poll, who do you think will win the next election? Only 30% ever bother to put their cross on the ballot paper. Reform need to put more meat on the bone of their policies. Mick, I agree with you entirely. Everything you've said there. But when it comes to reform and meat on their policies, we had meat on Labour's policies. Do you remember? Change was their word on the front of their manifesto. What it actually meant, I thought it meant change in policies. It meant change everything in the bloody manifesto. They've just ignored it. And did you see today? She's now admitting there's going to be huge tax rises to pay for the black hole, but she's now still blaming the Conservatives. They left this deficit, according to Rachel Thieves. Oh, and there's a new bogeyman in town. And guess who it is? It's Nigel Farage. He's never even been in government, but evidently it's his fault because Brexit wrecks our economy. What? How many? They think that'll wash. Who is writing their propaganda? Because that's just going to wind people up. It was a majority vote for Brexit. So if you then start telling people they're thick, you're just as stupid as Gary Neville. Oh, the flag. You know, you shouldn't be doing that. That's wrong. Then you get chanted at by 10,000 English fans calling you a wanker. Because you are. And I'm now talking about Starmer. It's ridiculous what he's doing. To turn Farage into the bogeyman will not work, will not get him votes. And just while on the subject of Nigel Farage, I was watching Prime Minister's Questions today, and I thought Kemi Badenoch did well again. And it was clear to me that Starmer's lying. We're going to find out more tonight. But what I thought was really interesting was he also condemned the guy who wanted, come over here, the Afghan, illegal immigrant, came in his flip-flops in a dinghy. There should have been a clue that the man was a bit mentally unstable, as he's got a Kalashnikov tattooed under his eye. He has, right? And he went, pop, pop. He was coming to kill Nigel Farage. He got 5.5 years yesterday. Now, give Starmer his due. Starmer condemned him today. But then a few minutes later, he starts going on about the MP for Clacton, meaning Farage, and has a go at him. But of course, Farage has no way of answering back in Prime Minister's Questions unless he's called. You'd have thought after the murder of David Amos and the murder of Joe Cox, when another one of our politicians, because it doesn't matter which party they're from, because that's 3 different parties, you'd have thought today the Speaker would have made room for Farage to speak, or Starmer would have asked him to respond. His life was under threat, and this guy wasn't messing. And of course, Nigel's right to say he'll be out in 18 months. How do we know he's going to get sent back? How do we know? And then the bigger question, how many more people have come in the same way as that wannabe assassin? How many more of those flip-flop warriors are a danger? There's a big court case today about the Bell Hotel in Epping. 2 of their residents, to my knowledge, have been found guilty of sexual offences. And then there's Nuneaton, there's London, there's Manchester. I am not saying in any way, shape or form that everybody in those dinghies is a sexual offender or a rapist. But what I am saying is they're a threat to the women of this country, our daughters, our sisters, our mums, our girlfriends, our wives. Not every one of them. In fact, not even the majority of them are sexual offenders. I would chance, and I'm guessing, because I have no way of knowing. Just like Starmer, I keep saying this. If we could say to Starmer, tell me the names of a few of the people in today's dinghies, he wouldn't have a clue. Tell me where they've come from. He wouldn't have a clue. Because our border is so weak. It's easy to get into Britain. I don't know why we're bothering with passports. We should just waltz in. But we wouldn't be able to, would we? We would be stopped and we would be fined. They would rather chase Tommy Robinson and get him on a trumped-up terrorism charge than deal with the real problem. The people who might want to kill us or rape us. That's where this country's going wrong. And because of the ECHR, whoever said that earlier, unless we scrap that, and I'm not saying get rid of human rights, we've got to have our own Bill of Human Rights. And it's got to be in agreement with the British people. We've been a soft touch for too long. And again, that brings me back to my main point. Do you think Starmer is ever going to deliver that? Because I don't think he is. He's definitely never going to rip up the ECHR. Let's move on. Graham Fletcher, Gary Neville, Gaunty. I thought you were a football fan. I refer you to my previous answer to the other idiot who didn't realise the irony of what I was saying. I said he's a mini-me. He's another Gary Lineker. Wash your ears out. Dorothy Chadwick just says yes, because I've asked the question. Would you like Farage now? Thank you very much, Dorothy. Mark Taylor, I would love to see Farage at the helm. Thank you very much indeed. Where should we go next? Paul Rowbottom. It has to be reform. We've got no other option, John. But I can't help feeling we're being nudged again. You might be right. You might be right, because they could be a miserable failure. They haven't really got the depth in, the strength in depth, have they? I mean, getting the new guy who's just come over from the Tories will help, but they haven't got much ministerial experience, nor even Nigel. They've got Lee Anderson, he's been an MP. But where else do you go? How else do you go forward? And I just think this ridiculous thing I was saying earlier about Nigel Farage is saying there's no point in him going to Prime Minister's questions because he can't answer. He'd be better off just working in his office or being in Clacton. And I think he's right. How can we have a situation where the party that is the most popular in Britain at the moment, without a shadow of a doubt, if you look at this new mega poll, they are absolutely miles ahead of anyone. But he doesn't get a chance to speak. But he is more in tune, isn't he? Even if you don't like him. It's a great picture of him, isn't it, on my thing? Even if you don't like him, you've got to accept that he's more in tune with the British public than anybody else. Lee Goatee, thank you very much indeed. He's just donated £2 on YouTube by clicking that little $sign. Come on, somebody else join him. Thank you, Lee. That's very kind of you. Glyn Collis, Starmer don't know who he is himself, so he definitely won't know who's coming over in those boats. You're right. Ronnie Hurst says Starmer's motto, look after number one, not the people. That is what's happening. You're right, Ronnie. We saw the way he is, Ronnie, with the way he took all those freebies when he first got into number 10. The man is an utter disgrace. He's a stinking hypocrite. He makes out he's the big socialist, but he'll take a freebie from anyone, won't he? He will. We've seen it happening. Let's move on. Let's go to Ronnie Hurst. He says, Ascension Island is a very small island. It's a volcanic rock. I've been there. Yeah, but there's people living there, isn't there, on Ascension Island? What, you don't think we could take people there? It's more of a threat, Ronnie, isn't it? It's more of a deterrent, if you understand what I mean. That's a shame, James, because you've now got right on my nerves and I've now banned you. You just couldn't accept me saying, please leave space for other people to get on the show. You've now insulted me, and I'm not getting paid for this, mate. I don't need to take it from people like you. Okay. So that's the end of you. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go to some more people. Who we got next? Lee Goatee, I've just done him. Starmer wrote, says Pam Millett. He wrote the ECHR. Chances of him coming out of it is 10,000 to 1, sadly. He didn't write it, Pam. He wrote a book about how to use it to save people from being deported. But yeah, you're on the right lines there. He certainly is totally and utterly signed up to it. Ronnie wants to have an argument tonight about Ascension Island. He says even the Falkland Islands isn't big enough to take and process the illegals. Whatever. If you think that, you think that. It's up to you. I disagree. It's about a deterrent. Why is Mahmood having meetings with the Balkan states? I thought the government didn't know where the illegals are coming from, says Johnny Roberts. Nice one, Johnny. I like your style. I really do. We shouldn't be having negotiations with anyone. We know where the ones from the dinghy are coming because the clue is they're landing at Dover and the next port of call is Calais and Dunkirk. Take them back there and let the French deal with them. Do you think if it was the other way around and France was the island, yeah, just imagine if France was on our soil and we had their land, do you think they would allow illegals to cross the channel and enter France / Britain? Do you follow what I'm saying? Would they hell us like? You know what the French are like at protesting? They're burning sheep and burning lorries before you can say, oui. It's true, isn't it? They wouldn't put up with this shit from their politicians. They've got rid of more prime ministers. Well, I was going to say more prime ministers than us, but not recently when it was the Tories. But you understand what I'm getting at? The French wouldn't put up with it. The French people would not put up with it. That's why they're waving them through. And that's why now their police are not going into the water because they've been warned by their union officials. You'll get no backup from the government if you go in and pull a few people back to the beach and one of them has an accident or drowns. They won't support you, lads. So don't go in. Just wave them goodbye, which is what's happening. We, big fat soft mugs, 21 miles across the channel, well, we don't even let it go that far. They get 12 miles out of France. We send in boats and pick them up, and then we give them back their life jackets so they can bring a load more people. You couldn't make this up, could you guys? This is just shocking. Absolutely shocking. So we need somebody who's going to say, no, that's the end of that. No, we're not doing that anymore. And you've not got to worry about upsetting your European neighbours. Who gives a shit? Because they don't give a shit about us, do they? Musical Man, I listened to Starmer today at PMQs, failing to answer any questions yet again. He never answers the questions. He thinks he's being clever. What he's actually doing, though, is disrespecting the electorate. Musical Man, that is a brilliant comment. Well done, my friend. Thank you. TV Steve Harris says, evening, Jono. My name's John or John, okay? Or Gaunty. It isn't Jono. Why do we keep being told that because we voted Brexit, we're unable to send illegal immigrants back? The whole point was to leave the ECHR and take back control. All we got was Brexit light. You're absolutely right, Jim. We were sold down the river. We didn't get the Brexit we voted for. This is when people say, oh, it hasn't worked. We didn't get the Brexit we wanted. Theresa May faffed around for the best part of 2 years, and then Boris got involved. We should be a totally independent nation with control over our own borders and our own laws. And as the Tony Benn said, I want to know who my politicians are, so if I want to, I can sack them. That's the way it should be. That's what we voted for. That's what won the Brexit vote, isn't it? It's pathetic. Wojtek Krajewski, one of my oldest fans and listeners and watchers, says yes. He obviously thinks we'd be better off having Farage now. It would have been far cheaper and efficient deporting him straight away. Are you talking about the bloke who wanted to kill Nigel? Yes, I agree. But of course, don't forget, Michael, the ultimate irony there is he was asking to be deported. When they were taking him down after the trial at the Westminster court, he's screaming, I want to go back to Afghanistan. Like I said last night, get his flip-flops together, take him down the beach, put him in a dinghy and say, I think it's that way, mate. Bye, bye. Or alternatively, take him to Luton Airport and shout, Stelios, chucks away. People won't go if their life is too comfortable here, will they? It's just obvious. It's like, I saw that thing, excuse me. They're going to make it a condition now that if you want to be an immigrant, legal immigrant, you've got to have A-level English. Well, it's just so obvious. This is Shabana Mahmood. She's learned all her skills from Yvette Cooper, who, as I keep saying, is about as much use as a chocolate fireguard. She says that. We're meant to believe that. We'll still be paying hundreds and hundreds of millions out for translators. We'll still be translating every sign in a hospital into different languages. There'll still be people in this country who've lived here for years and years and never learned the language. And the people who get disadvantaged the most, if you don't learn the language, the customs, the traditions and the culture, is the actual person who doesn't learn it. And I also think it's a tool of oppression by certain communities. They don't want their women to mix. They don't want their women to go out. So they keep them in ignorance. Well, that's wrong. That's not a liberal democracy. That's not diversity in action. That's suppression. And don't bring up Benidorm, as I said to my mate earlier, because I think it's wrong. If you go and live in Spain, you should learn the language. I'm useless at languages, but if I was to live in a foreign country, I would learn, because you have to. Otherwise, you're only disenfranchising yourself and putting yourself at a disadvantage. But also, it doesn't show any respect, does it, to your host country? Learn the language. But this idea that she's actually going to, she won't enforce that. Just like the multiple choice questions about what it is to become a British citizen. Our passport, as I keep saying, is a valuable thing, but we dish it out as if it's worthless. And that breaks my heart. And that's got to change. Anybody going to agree, disagree with me? Anybody going to donate? Could do with a few donations tonight, guys. Otherwise, I'll be selling the big issue. Click that little dollar sign if you can. Afghanistan can't be that bad. He wants to go back there instead of prison. And the guy who, and don't forget the guy who has an 8-week holiday there. Where do they get the money from? Yeah, it isn't just one guy, Michael. There's been several where they've been going back to Afghanistan, to Kabul, for holiday, and then coming back to sign on again. Do you remember Hook, Captain Hook, Abu Hamza? He's now in a major security unit in Arizona, I think. The Americans got the right idea. He's in an individual cell under the ground, and he only comes up 1 hour a day or something. But anyway, he used to hate our country so much, and he preached. I've interviewed him. He preaches so much hatred, right? He's only got one hand, but he's got enough hands to sign and get his dole every 2 weeks from this filthy dustbin. What did he call us once? He called Britain the toilet of the world, didn't he? He did. And we let these people live amongst us, these extremists. And that's like going back to, Starmer. What's he done to counter the hate marches? There's been another hate march this week. He hasn't stopped it. He's just said, oh, would you mind? He's like, I said yesterday, he's like Ricky Gervais in The Office. He's not. He's more like Sergeant Wilson in Dad's Army. You know when Mannering says, get the boys in, get the lads in. And he goes, oh, would you mind awfully? Would you please? Would you? That's what he's like, isn't it? Starmer, would you mind awfully trying to fit in with our lifestyle? Awfully, would you mind? If it's not too much trouble. Here's your soap. Here's your 4-star hotel. Here's your benefits. Here's your national health. There was a story today about national health inside one of those hotels. They've got a thing you can scan with your brand new mobile phone to get yourself a doctor's appointment. I read it and I thought, no, they're making that story up. And I looked in some other papers and on some internet sites. No, it's true. So when your man, what's his name? Rylan said, oh, yeah, and they get the NHS in the foyer. He wasn't lying. He was just using that as an expression. No one should get any of those sort of help or benefits until they've put something in to the pot. This is where we need somebody like Farage. But I don't want to wait 4 years. Craig Marson. Hi, John. Yes, please. Then we don't have to put up with Starmer's bullshit anymore. Pam Millett says, Farage for PM now. All the right need to bury the hatchet and get together. From UKIP to Reform and everything in between. I had exactly the same thought this afternoon, Michael. Instead of, this is Michael Doolan, instead of people like Ben Habib, Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage as well, they're all fighting like cats in a sack or rats in a sack, whatever the expression is. If you came together, you'd be so much more powerful because you've got a common aim. Yes, there's bits you don't agree with each other about. But anyway, I saw Tommy Robinson on YouTube today arriving in Israel. He was treated like a rock star. So many people wanted a selfie with him. Yeah, I saw that as well. I don't know about that. Well, we'll talk about that another day. We'll do a whole program on Tommy Robinson. Vince Coombs, Zach Polanski. What's he all about? Well, he's about making women's breasts bigger, isn't he? By hypnotism. I can't believe it. He's got the fastest growing part of the electorate under 30s. Are these kids that naive? Are they that stupid? Maybe I was before I got mature and grew up. I don't know. But Zach Polanski, he's clearly, well, you make your own mind up. Make your own mind up. Hi, John. The migrant industry, Serco, NGOs, they're all making millions. You're right. The hotel companies, they are. John, we need to do it Trump style, says Craig Mawson. Agreed. That's the sort of attitude we need. Put Britain and British people first and make Britain great again. Starmer is making Reform electable every time he opens his mouth. He makes John Major look exciting and intelligent. I love that. That's a very nice one. Thank you very much indeed. I've got to say, guys, I'm very disappointed. Come on. There's a lot of people now joining in. You can all contribute something, can't you? £2, £5 here. This is independent broadcasting, and it relies on your donations. Click the $sign if you can, or alternatively, please go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt. We're going to stop in a minute. Jeanette Poulton, I like your comment, Jeanette. She just says, yes. Talking about, do we need Farage now? Musical Man says, what I don't understand are the people who move heaven and earth to get here, then insist that they want to live according to their own customs and cultures of the place they couldn't wait to leave. Yeah, and we could add to that, Musical Man, that they were willing to risk their lives to leave. Yes, you're making a very, very good point. But it's partly our fault, mate, because we don't value our passport. We don't value that this is a great country. Look at the situation with the flags. Gary Neville / Gary Lineker thinks he can have a go at the flags. I saw that Richard Bacon, the coke snorting Blue Peter presenter. He's been going on about it. He doesn't even live in Britain now. He lives in bloody LA. He's a multi-millionaire. He's become a TV executive. Passed the exam. How much coke can you snort? Etc., etc. And now he's pontificating. He's saying, I feel very uncomfortable around the flags. Well, I'll tell you what, fuck off back to Hollywood then. If you don't want to see our flag. You make me sick. But who are these people? And they exploit that we have all not valued our country enough. And there's nothing wrong with being a nationalist and believing in borders. That is not the same as being a fascist or a racist. I believe this country is the greatest country in the world. I still want to go and live in America at some point. I love going to Europe, but I don't want to be part of Europe, a region of Europe. I'm British. Well, I'm English. I'm British, and I'm proud. I'm also proud of my white skin, just as much as you should be proud of your black skin or your Asian skin. Doesn't make you any less British. Doesn't make me superior. I'm not a white supremacist. But I'm fed up of being treated as if I am, especially by twats like Richard Bacon. Who the hell? And how does he get on telly? So Richard Bacon flies in, then he's on Newsnight, then he's on Question Time. He doesn't live here. Therefore, he shouldn't be on those programmes. Polo Men says it's all a criminal enterprise. I think you're right, my friend. Simon Hayes, what about BlackRock, who own the lorries taking the boats? That is the allegation. I've read about that. I'm not sure that's been fully substantiated or proved, but thank you for your comments. Craig Urquhart, first thing Nigel would do if PM is set up a contract with Go Outdoors. That should be happening now. What do you mean for the tents? Yeah, I think I agree with you. Although we must have enough army tents, surely. Would it be fantastic? Would be fantastic to see Farage in number 10 ASAP. Unfortunately, I think Starmer will be switching on the Christmas lights. 5, 4, 3, 2. He's Mr. Charisma, says Regan and Carter. That's a lovely, lovely comment. Thank you very much indeed. It worked much better if you're watching it on telly, that, because he puts all these snores in. Well done. Thank you. Expats in Spain or Malta actually bring money in. Yeah, that is a fair point. Most people who go to Spain, they buy their villas and all the rest of it. It still doesn't fully excuse them not learning the language. I've got friends who've lived in Spain for over 20 years, and they're almost proud. Well, yeah, they are kind of proud. Yeah, no, you don't need to learn the language, Gaunty. No. Plenty of English bars. And then they send you Facebook posts of a big English breakfast they've got for €7. Wouldn't you want to go and enjoy part of the Spanish culture and food? I don't know. Maybe I'm a middle-class snob, but I just think that's ridiculous. Learn the bloody language. Dan Spinks, sorry. I remember Boris stating how much each migrant costs us, talking pennies per taxpayer during the Brexit battle, for or against. I don't think you can really quote Boris on anything, mate. He's lost all his authority. Michael Deacon has just thrown £2 into the pot on YouTube. Thank you very, very much indeed. Every penny helps, my friend. Why do we pay for interpreters for people who don't speak our language? When my sister was in Spain and had a purse nick, she went to the police station to report it, and she had to pay up front for an interpreter before they would deal with her. Why can't we do that with people who come here and can't speak our language? Because we're a soft touch, Jackie. Simple answer to your question. Same with the first thing you should ever get examined when you go to the hospital, if you're a foreigner, is your insurance papers. I told you this story a load of times. If you're new, you won't have heard it, but I'll tell you again very quickly. We went to a place called Fort Myers in Florida, Lisa and I, when she was pregnant with Rosie, who's now 32. So it's a long time ago. We're in this motel. We got to know the couple who owned it, and we had a nice time. But we were playing ball in the pool, you know what I mean, throwing the ball to each other. And she suddenly got a twinge. First baby, she was worried about it. I was worried about it. So Ernie, who's the bloke who owned the motel, said, come on, I'll take you to the hospital. So we went to this hospital, and I always remember it in Fort Myers City. You could see it on the horizon, and it looked like a cruise ship. It was that kind of design. Anyway, we went in there, and the nurse was a Scottish nurse. They'd all moved there. There was an Alan Wicker program years ago. I remember watching it as a kid. Well, all these nurses moved to America because they wanted nurses. British nurses were the best. And she was one of these original women. Anyway, she was lovely. So we're having a nice chat. And then she said, oh, sorry to ask you this, but have you got your insurance papers with you? I said, pardon? She said, well, I can't look at your wife till I can check your insurance. She checked the insurance to make sure we had it. Then out comes that, do you know, remember that jelly stuff they put on the lady's tummy to do that? And that was the first time I saw Rosie. You know, but if you're a parent, you'll know what I'm talking about. In those days, it was, oh, look, you can see it. Oh, look, isn't it fantastic? It just looks like a skittle, really. But you know what I mean? Looking back, the scans now are incredible. But anyway, she was okay. Lisa was okay. Baby was okay. A few months later, baby was born. But I didn't resent this Scottish nurse in America checking our papers because I hadn't paid any money in America. So why should I get it for free? When my dad was dying, I think I've told you this as well. When he was being away in Thailand on holiday with my stepmom, he collapsed at Heathrow, died on the floor, effectively, went into a coma, never came back out of the coma. But when he went, they took him to the hospital. They couldn't get him a bed for 2 days. He's effectively, it wasn't a corridor, but it was like the drugs cupboard they put him in, on a high dependency, all that shit, right? And eventually they got moved from there. That was a hospital next to Heathrow. Can't remember, what's that godforsaken place? You know what I mean? And then after that, they moved him to Woolwich. Then they moved him back to Nuneaton where he lived. And unfortunately, he died. One look at the George Eliot Hospital, I don't blame him. But that's a separate issue. But he didn't get a bed because they have people flying. It's next to Heathrow, this airport. They have people flying in from Africa, war-torn countries, with gunshot wounds. And they want to get treated as soon as they get down the steps, they collapse. That's what I was told. What a system. My dad had paid in all his life. He didn't want anything better than anybody else, but he deserved a bloody bed, didn't he? That's where our country's going wrong. No other country does that. You put your own people first. I'm the same when it comes to drunkards. You know when you get a casualty on a Saturday or Friday late for whatever, well, I'd avoid it. I'd rather die at home. But if you do go there and you got all these morons and they're even fighting in the reception and, there's now signs. There's coppers, isn't there, in there now as well. I'd just take them back outside and let them bleed to death on the steps if they were yobbos. I would. Why should they jump? Oh, yeah, but they've got a worse injury than you. You've only got a sprained ankle. They're bleeding from them. Their jugular's been slashed by some other yobbo in a knife fight. Tough shit, bleed out on the street. I'm not making this up. That's what I think. I'm talking in big, broad brushstrokes. But we're just too much of a soft touch. Musical man, I'm required to pay for 3 hotels. Can we please assign the rooms to the veterans that put their lives on the line to keep me safe? I'm up for that. That's a very good one. Trevor Malloy, Trump can't wait until we've got a proper prime minister. I love Trump. He completely ignored Starmer. Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. Does the donations on Facebook end up in the coffers? 20 stars went in the other day. Keep it up, John. Thank you, Mark. Somebody asked me that the other day. I don't know how the donations work. I know I've got about 20 odd quid in there. I think you've got to get up to 100 before they send you anything. So to be honest with you, I'd rather, if you're going to donate, do it on buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt or here on YouTube. You buy me a coffee, you wait a week. On YouTube, it's a month, about a month. As for donation, John, I've set up a standing order for Buy Me a Coffee. Get the message out there. That's a great idea, Craig, and it's very much appreciated. Because, yeah, if you can get into a regular payment pattern, obviously it makes life easier. Continental breakfasts are pretty good, says Michael Doolin. What are you talking about? I toured Romania and Bulgaria, and their breakfasts were like lunch. Loads of cut meat, butter, fresh bread, cheese, and salads. Yeah, breakfast doesn't have to be bacon and eggs. Don't get me wrong. I love a good English or a good Scottish breakfast. Or when I was working in Belfast, Northern Irish, they know how to make a good breakfast. But if you go into a foreign country, I suppose some people say Scotland is as well, so I don't want to upset the Scottish or indeed those in Northern Ireland or in the south. But if you go to Spain, wouldn't you rather eat the Spanish food? I don't know. Maybe not every day. Tell you where I did go. I went to Denmark for a radio conference once, and I wasn't so sure about their breakfast. There was loads of fruit and muesli and all that shit, but then they have roll mop herrings. I don't know about you. I can't quite fancy fish first thing in the morning, especially after a skinful, because they had that Carlsberg lager. I've never been to Dublin. I've been to the south, but I haven't actually been to Dublin. But they say the Guinness tastes different in Dublin than it tastes anywhere else in the world. And that's the same with Carlsberg. Copenhagen we went to. The guy who was hosting us, he was like a Viking. He was about 6'20". I don't know. But he used to drink a carling like that. And he put his hand around this glass, pint glass, Stein or whatever they call them. You couldn't see the glass. That's how big this guy was. Back it went. I had 2 or 3. I was legless. I was legless. Let's finish with Cumbria and Mackham. Can the country hang on until the next general election? That's a good one to finish on, thank you, because that's really the thinking behind tonight's show. We can't carry on for another 4 miserable years of Starmer and his bunch of sixth formers, can we? That's your thought for tonight. Right, I'm finishing now. I shall be back. What day is tomorrow? Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow at 6:30. Hope you can join me then. Don't forget to tell all your friends about the show. Don't forget to like the show. 41 likes today. That's brilliant. Share the stream. Reshare it on Twitter and on X or Facebook, whatever you want to do. If you wish to donate, go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt or click the $sign here. All your contributions are welcome. Jackie Ward has sent me 3 red hearts. Thank you very much indeed. And I shall be back tomorrow. Until then, if you've got kids... Oh, Josie Brooks, where have you been? She's an old friend from Coventry. Now, this lady, she has got an amazing life story. Maybe I'll get her on to talk about it one day. Thank you. Irish Guinness is different as it's Scandinavian and German. I'm sorry. Irish Guinness is different as is real Scandinavian and German beer. Ta-ta for now, mate, says Michael Doolan. Yes, of course. Thank you. Ronnie Hurst says, cheers, John. I will try to make tomorrow, but I'll share the link anyway. Thank you. Well, I've got to go now. Let me go. If you got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Hey, don't forget to tell them you love them. See ya.